G'day racers and welcome back to another live stream. And today's live stream is a big one, a big topic, a big race that a lot of people around the world follow. And that's why I thought it was a great opportunity to put this video together. And what triggered me to put this video together, or the topic, if you haven't read the title already, is how to fitness train for the Dakar Rally, and specifically on a bike. I know you can do it multiple different ways, but today's going to be focusing on the bike. And this was inspired by, I had a chat yesterday with a rider that's working towards doing the Dakar Rally for next year. So as I was going through our call, or more so after the call, I thought, well, there's probably a lot of you guys out there that are either thinking about doing the Dakar, maybe you're just interested to know what preparation and lead up would look like going into Dakar. And there's probably some of you as well that are wanting to do Dakar again, or you've done it before. And maybe you want to optimize, you want to improve things, you want to fitness train better, you want to approach things in a different way or a better way to improve your performance. So this will be focused on everything that's happening off the bike. Okay, it's not skills, it's not riding the bike, it's not technique, it's not how to use a GPS and a map and all that sort of stuff. It's everything you can do. Okay, this video is solely on how can we get the human to be performing at their absolute best, so that when they go and ride the bike, they can put that side of things into action as best as possible as well. So I'll break it down into three areas. And this is what I do with every different type of event, okay, is break it down into three components to make it easy and have a simplified approach to working towards racing. So first thing, when we're looking towards Dakar, so we're looking at, depending on the year and how they structure the event, it could be 12, 13, 14 days of doing 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hours of riding each day, depending on your speed, depending on your ability, depending on the stage that you're going through. So, hey, Luke, so ultimately, you've got a shit ton of riding, okay, in a very compressed period of time, over a period of a couple of weeks. So there's three main areas that we need to focus on. First component is strength work, okay? So if you look at the weight of a Dakar rally bike in the first place, if you look at, I was looking at the numbers for a KTM, it's roughly 145 kilos dry weight. So once you add in like petrol and all the rest of it, probably looking at 150 kilos plus. So you've got a 150 kilo bike, which is a decent amount of weight to be working with. Plus you've got your body weight on top of that. So if you're weighing in at say 80 kilos, you've got a 150 kilo bike and you've got 80 kilos of rider weight there, you're looking at 230 kilos. That is a lot of weight to be moving around for hours and hours and hours each day, and then to be able to back that up every day. So the key focus of your training, first of all, needs to be to build a lot of strength and get a lot stronger. Now, this doesn't mean building muscle mass. It doesn't mean putting on a whole heap of weight. It purely means getting a lot stronger. The more you can elevate your overall strength and get stronger, the lighter the bike is going to feel. So let's say between now and Dakar, so let's say for the start of next year, if you can double or triple the amount of strength that your body has, what that means is that the bike, the 150 kilo bike, is going to feel much lighter for you now. When we can get the 150 kilo bike to feel much lighter, you're going to use much less energy and get worn out a lot less and fatigue a lot less, because it's not using as much of your work capacity. It's not using as much of your overall strength. It's not as taxing. And because it's not as taxing, you're not fatiguing as much. Number one, you don't have to spend as much time at the end of each stage trying to recuperate and prevent soreness and do all that sort of stuff. That's still important, okay? But we can minimize that time that we spend there and maximize your resting time. The other thing that's great is you're not going to be bringing as much fatigue into the coming days, right? So as much as it's about the riding, it's about survival as well and getting through the event and making sure you're doing things on day one that are going to set you up for day 2, day 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as we're going through. And so it's at the start of the event and even before the event, it's about preventing fatigue, okay? We're not waiting for fatigue and then trying to recover from it. We're trying to prevent it from happening in the first place. And one of the first ways to do that is strength training. So you can do movements in the gym such as back squats, deadlifts, overhead press, bent over rows. And we want to build strength with those movements. Again, we want to build up the human. We want to get the human as physically fit and strong as we can. And so building strength is going to make that bike feel a lot lighter and a lot easier to be able to manage. So that's the first thing, is you have to be building strength. And that takes time. Okay, strength isn't something you just do a few weeks out before you go and race. You need to be putting months, if not years, into building that level of strength. And the more you can do that, the easier the riding becomes, the easier you can manage the bike, and the more consistent your endurance is going to be. So to give you an example or an analogy for this, think about like a squat, right, with some weight. So think about the most weight that you can squat. If you've never done it before, have a rough guess of what you can do. Numbers don't really matter, just pick a number. Let's say the most you can squat is 50 kilos. That's all you can do, absolute max. Now, if let's say we take the weight off the bar and you've just got an empty bar there, and it weighs 20 kilos, okay, on its own. How many times do you think you could squat that 20 kilo bar? Okay, if the most you can squat is 50 kilos once, how many reps do you think you could do with that 20 kilo bar? So pick a number. You can post it in the comments below if you're watching the replay. Let's say it's 20 reps with a 20 kilo bar. Okay, great. Okay, we've got a benchmark. Now let's say over the coming months, let's say you put a lot of effort into your strength work and you do the right stuff and you're able to double the amount of strength that your body has. So let's say you get your squat now up to 100 kilos. It was 50 kilos before, now it's 100 kilos. Now if we take the weights off the bar again, and I give you just an empty bar, so 20 kilo bar, how many squats do you think you could do with a 20 kilo bar now? You might be able to do 30 or 40 reps, right? So the amount of reps that you can do with that 20 kilo bar has gone from 20 reps up to 30 or 40 reps. So we've just improved your strength endurance without having to actually do a whole heap of endurance work. And that's the most effective way to improve your endurance. It's not doing a shit ton of cycling or a shit ton of bodyweight stuff or a heap of swimming or a heap of running. The best way to build your endurance and strength endurance is actually by improving your overall strength. Because when you can improve your overall strength, all of the weights below that start to become a lot lighter. And when you can get those weights to feel a lot lighter, you can move them for longer periods of time with a lot less effort. So ultimately, that's what we're working towards for the bike, is we want to get you a lot stronger to make the 150 kilo bike feel a heap lighter. When we can get it to feel a heap lighter, you can ride it and muscle it around for longer periods of time and use a lot less effort and a lot less energy. Number 2 area is cardio and conditioning. So there's 2 areas of cardio, or 2 energy systems that we want to use. There's one which is called the aerobic energy system, and the other one which is called the anaerobic energy system. So your aerobic energy system uses oxygen to help you to break down carbs and break down energy to use as energy, okay, to keep your muscles fueled and keep you going. Now, the aerobic energy system is used when our body is operating at lower intensity, okay? So think of it like a marathon run, doing an Ironman, things like that, okay? When we're operating at, it's not an absolute all-out effort, okay? You might be giving it 100% effort, but in terms of the intensity, it's quite low, okay? So for example, if I got you out to the running track and I said, okay, John, I need you to run as fast as you possibly can and just keep going. There's no finish line, just keep going. What would happen is the first couple of minutes would be his fastest, okay? And that's where he's using the anaerobic energy system. He's not using oxygen to break down carbs and energy. He's using readily available energy that's already broken down in there. And so he's able to run really, really, really fast for those first 2 minutes. And then after the first couple of minutes, his intensity drops off, his speed. Effort-wise, he's still giving it 100% effort, but he just can't maintain that same speed. His speed starts to drop off. And that's where his body starts to change from the anaerobic energy system to the aerobic energy system. Okay, still giving it 100% effort, it's just the intensity drops off because his body can't maintain that pace past those first couple of minutes. So when we go out, when you're looking at Dakar, obviously it's such a long race. And the initial instinct, the initial thought is to go, okay, it's aerobic. Like you're doing all of these hours on the bike, it's lots of movement over heaps of days, it's aerobic. And it is a large part aerobic. But there's also a lot of parts that are anaerobic, okay? There's parts of Dakar and parts of any race that are very high intensity that require a lot of physical effort, okay? Your body doesn't have time to get oxygen in and break it down for energy in that specific moment. In that specific moment, it's very intense, it's all out, it's using readily available energy that's already broken down. So, this could be parts like a really sandy section. It could be like the bike starts to get out of line. It could be like maybe a rough section. Maybe there's like a drop off through the dunes or through a sandy area. Any of those times are where your body is giving it 100% in that specific moment. It might last for 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it might be even a couple of minutes. Okay, but these are the periods of Dakar or sections of Dakar where it's very, very intense for a very short period of time. And that's where you're using your anaerobic energy system. So you want to make sure with your training and your fitness work, you're not just training one or the other. We want to train both of those systems because you're using both of those when you're riding. So aerobic training is long distance training. Okay, it's doing long cycles for an hour, long swims, long runs, long rows, long workouts, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. Okay, they're long workouts. They're aerobic, and that includes riding as well. If you go riding and you go and do rides, you do 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of riding in practice. That's aerobic energy system. Anaerobic energy system is short, sharp bursts of high intensity followed by rest periods. So the way that you train that anaerobic energy system is intervals. So I'll give you an example with, say, a rowing machine. Instead of spending an hour on the rower, you could do a minute flat out as hard as you can go, a minute rest, and repeat that 10 times. Okay, take you 20 minutes. Or you could do it 15 times or 20 times, depending on where your ability is at and where your fitness is at. The important thing there is you want to have those rest periods, because those rest periods is what allows your body to get oxygen in, to be able to break down energy so that it can go really hard again for the next interval. If you just keep rowing, your body is going back into the aerobic energy system. So the rest periods there are really important. Now, it's not about doing one or the other, which is what I see a lot of riders doing. Okay, you need to build both energy systems and have both of those really robust, rather than just focusing on one or the other, to make sure you're getting the best transfer over to your riding. That's the second area. Third area is nutrition, guys. So with nutrition, especially going into Dakar, such a big event like that, a lot of the work nutrition-wise is done in the lead up to the event, not during the event itself. So the whole goal leading up to the event is we want to have your fuel tank maximized. We want to make sure you have the most amount of energy, you have stored energy ready to rock and roll, ready for your body to be able to burn as you're going through the race. And so the whole goal as you're going through the race, what we're trying to do as best we can is just replenish that tank and top it up and get it back to 100%. If you don't have an action plan of what's happening, especially in that week leading up to the event, what's happening is you're not going into the race with a fuel tank that's at 100%. And if the fuel tank's not at 100% to start with, and you haven't done the right things in the lead up, then what happens is you're on the back foot already from when you're starting. Okay, you're already behind. So instead of starting with an energy tank at 100%, you might have an energy tank that's starting at 80% or 70%, and then it's all just going downhill from there. And so that's why the lead up is the most important. So things that you want to be using or be mindful, there's so many things you can focus on nutrition wise, but things that you want to be mindful of when you're going into Dakar, and that's for any long distance event and any multi-day event, is you want to be making sure you're getting the right amount of calories in for your body to recover from such large amounts of exercise, because you're going to be burning astronomically more calories than what you would be burning on any other day, on a normal day or a normal riding day or racing day. So you need to make sure your body's getting enough calories and enough energy in each day to be able to recover and repair itself, ready to go for the next day. The tough thing with doing that is obviously you have time constraints. There's access to food constraints. Okay, you're not going to have too much of your own food that you can bring with you. A lot of the stuff is going to be provided for you. You can bring things like supplements and things like that, which can be effective. But the toughest thing is, number one, having the time to eat enough food and calories, and it's having strategies that are going to work on the go. So when your body is under a stress response, so when you've been doing a lot of exercise, really pushing yourself, you might be a little bit sleep deprived as well from doing such a big event and having a limited amount of time, it's really hard for your body to digest food, okay? When your body's in that stress response, that's why when you go and train or you have a really hard ride, you don't feel like eating straight away. You generally have to wait a few hours to get some food in. So you can imagine if you're doing 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however many hours each day on the bike, your digestive system's not going to work. Plus, it's going to take a few hours after that for things to settle down for you to get your appetite back. So how do we work around that? Again, it's in the 7-day lead up and making sure you're really prepared with fueling your body before it even gets to that stage. It's preventing problems rather than trying to cure problems as they come up. Once we've done as best we can to prevent problems from coming up, Then what we want to make sure is that we've got strategies to get those calories in that are going to bypass your digestive system as best we can. Okay, and what that comes down to is using supplements effectively and using fluids effectively and knowing how to get those calories in to your body to help it recover. It could be through use of using fats to get a whole heap of calories in. It can be using carb gels. It can be using carb drinks. It can be using protein shakes. It can be using milk. There's a whole heap of different strategies that can be used, but it's just coming up with the right strategy that's going to work for you in the specific event that you're doing. So in this case, the Dakar, strategies that are going to work for you. And be manageable, obviously, being in a different location every night of the week or every part of the week or the event. So it's making sure you have strategies that are going to work for the event. But the most important thing is making sure you're replenishing all the calories that you're losing. And this is where I find a lot of riders go wrong just with events in general, is your body's going to be burning a shit ton more calories than what your body would normally burn on a normal riding day, because you're riding a lot harder and probably riding a lot longer and riding for consecutive days. So if you're behind on calories and recovery at the start, in the initial days, that's going to fuck you up for the end days, right? You're just going to be running on empty and running on fumes. So restoring what you've lost is the most important thing. And the best way to be able to work that out is doing practice runs with your riding and your training and just measuring things out. It's being a bit sciencey and a bit nerdy with how you tackle those things. So what I use for our guys is we use just as a rough ratio that you guys can test if you're doing training on the bike. You want to have 15 grams of protein per hour of intense exercise and up to 30 to 45 grams of carbs per hour of intense exercise. So if you look at that for Dakar, if you're doing like say a 6-hour day, then you need to calculate that out. Okay, I'm doing 6 hours, roughly 6 hours today. Okay, obviously you're not going to know how long each stage is going to take you, but you have a rough idea. It's going to take 6 hours, great. I need 6 times 15 grams of protein, and I need 6 times 30 to 45 grams of carbs. And then we need to reverse engineer and work out a strategy to do that. Do we need to put different things in your, do we need to put Powerade in your Camelback instead of water? Do we need to add electrolytes or add extra things into your Camelback to be able to help you reach those requirements? Is there things we need to do before the ride that are going to help you to reach those requirements? Things we're going to do afterwards to reach those requirements? Do you need to have a gel with you on board that you can take while you're riding? Some guys will stop for food and things like that. Some guys will keep hustling through. So what's the strategy that we need to work on? Okay, but at the end of the day, there's certain things your body needs to perform at its best. We start with those first, and then we reverse engineer with practical ways that you can actually implement that. Okay, having a barbecue halfway through a stage, probably not going to be a great strategy. Putting protein in your Camelback, probably a better option, right? So there's always things that you can work on. It's just about reverse engineering. So there are the 3 things there, okay? Get a lot stronger. The stronger you can get, the easier the ride is going to be, because you can muscle the bike around a lot easier, and you're going to use a lot less energy and fatigue less, which means your endurance through the whole event from day 1 to 12, 13, 14, however many days there are, is going to be much better. Your physical performance is going to drop like this rather than dropping like this, which is what we're aiming for. Cardio. You need to make sure your body is good with aerobic and anaerobic energy system, okay? The more efficient you can get your body with oxygen and without oxygen, the better your endurance is going to be. If you just do strength work and no cardio or conditioning, you're going to be strong, but your strength is going to drop off like this. You're not going to have the endurance to maintain it. The purpose of the cardio and conditioning is to make sure your strength drops off like this over the event rather than like that. Okay, that's what we're doing. Your performance as a physical person is going to drop over 14 days. No matter how much training you do, your physical performance is going to drop. What we want to do is just minimize the drop, making sure it's not going like this, making sure it's going like this. And then like we just spoke about is nutrition. Have a game plan with the nutrition. And the biggest thing I can say here is prevention is better than cure. You should have a very clear strategy of how you're going to carb load, how many calories you need to, hey Simon, how many calories you're going to get in, what foods you're going to get in, what food groups you need, what your supplements are going to look like, what you're going to eat on the morning of day 1, what you need to be doing 24 hours before the event, what your hydration is going to look like, how much water you need to be getting in, how much salt you need to be getting in, how many electrolytes you need to be getting in, what body weight should you be at. All these things should be calculated before you're going into race. So when you go into racing, you're preventing a lot of the problems and minimizing the chance of having a lot of these problems that guys have in the initial days and towards the end of the event. The first few days aren't really going to be the problem. The real problem is going to be the last days because you've got all of that fatigue that you're carrying from the previous days. They're going to be the tough days. So we need to make sure that we're doing things at the start of the event and before the event, keeping in mind that we're doing these things now for the end of the event. Not start worrying about being fatigued and being sore and all of that sort of stuff and having headaches and being dehydrated. Because once you're dehydrated, once you're low on energy, it's very hard to come back from that, especially when you're riding every day and chewing through as many calories and macronutrients and micronutrients as what you are. It's very hard to come back from something once you've got a problem without resting, okay, and just taking a break. So that's why it's really important that the work is done beforehand to minimize the chance of any of those things happening, rather than having all of these things happening and then just trying to survive at the end. Okay, I want to have you in a position where you can attack all the way through, not survive most of the way through. Common mistakes that I see, guys. And by the way, if you're finding this helpful so far, please give the video a thumbs up. It helps to show other people on Facebook, on YouTube, the video. Otherwise, no one sees the videos. Common mistakes that I see with preparation for Dakar, just based on what I've seen on YouTube and on the internet. A lot of riders will train for endurance only. Okay, they neglect the strength component. And so what they'll do is they'll do a lot of cardio stuff. They almost train like a triathlete or like an Ironman, okay, or like a marathon runner or like a long distance cyclist, a Tour de France racer. And the problem with this approach is, yes, there is a lot of exercise back to back and a lot of movement for all of the stages of Dakar. The real problem, though, is there's a big difference between you and a triathlete or an endurance athlete, and that's your 150 kilo bike. And that's a pretty big bloody difference to miss. So you need to make sure, that's one of the biggest mistakes I see, is people do a lot of endurance training, or they do light weights, or they do body weight based stuff. And so riding a 150 kilo bike is very, very hard when you don't have the adequate strength to be able to ride it. So that's the first problem I see. Second problem I see is riders neglect the strength component, the heavy weights. They don't want to lift the heavy weights because they feel that they're going to get big and bulky. The truth is you will get big and bulky if you do the wrong type of strength training, okay? Not all strength training is created equally. Not all weight training is created equally. There's specific exercises and training with heavy weights that will get you big, and there's other movements that you can do with heavy weights that will get you strong. If you want an example of this, go on YouTube and type in Olympic lifting and look at the 50 kilo girls clean and jerking 100 kilos over their head, lifting double the amount of their body weight. They are not big girls at all, okay? They are 50 kilo girls. They are tiny, lifting a shit ton of weight, and they're not massive, okay? It can be done. You just have to know how to do it. So neglecting heavy strength work means that you're neglecting making the bike feel lighter, okay? There's no amount of push-ups, squats, cycling, swimming, running that you can do that is going to allow you to build the strength that you need to muscle around 150 kilo bike for multiple days in a row for 2 or more weeks. So get strong with the right movements. Third thing I see is, third common mistake I see is exercise versus training. Exercise is simply just movement, okay? There's no strategy to it. The goal is to burn calories, move, get a sweat up, do something for a period of time. And that's what I seem to see with a lot of the Dakar prep. It's just about doing a lot of work and a lot of training. Now, no doubt there is a lot of work and a lot of prep that's needed to be able to be physically ready to go and ride. But simply just doing random exercise and random things might be good for the mindset side and just getting you active and used to moving every day. But physically, in terms of improving your physical performance, has a very limited benefit because there's no strategy there to move you forward. There's no path. And so that's the difference between exercising and training. Exercise is just movement that burns calories, gets your sweat up, you get moving for a period of time. Training is a specific program designed to get you from A to B. It's a specific path. It's okay. I need you to do this many calories or burn this many calories on this day. I need you to do this many Ks on the cycling bike this day. I need you to do this many intervals. I need you to do this many sets and reps of squats, this many sets and reps of weights. This is the mobility exercise I need you to do today. These are the amount of sessions that I need you to do. Okay, that is training. Training is having a specific path to get you from A to B. If you want to double the amount of fitness, the amount of strength that you have, training is following a clear path that gets you from A to B. Exercising is just doing a whole heap of random stuff, hoping that it's actually going to help you. Okay, and just crossing your fingers and hoping it's going to work. I see a lot of exercising with Dakar prep and just racing prep in general. It's just, okay, if I'm working hard, it must be working. And the truth is, That will work for the initial weeks that you start doing any type of training. After that, things are just going to plateau out. Okay. And the truth is, you don't know if you're improving or not because there's no data there. There's nothing that's been measured, nothing that's been tracked. There's no progression at all. It's just guesswork. You're just assuming because you're breathing hard that you're going to get better. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're getting better. So they're the 3 common mistakes: training for endurance only and just doing long distance stuff and neglecting getting strong. Second is neglecting heavy strength work. Okay, being scared to lift heavy weights because you think that you're going to get too muscly and too big and it's going to make riding the bike harder. It's got nothing to do with that. It's got everything to do with the type of strength work that you do. Third is exercising versus training. I see a lot of guys that are just doing a whole heap of stuff rather than having a very clear plan. So that's how I'd prepare a rider for Dakar. There's probably quite a few of you that are watching this that are going, okay, well, how many riders have you actually trained for Dakar, Andrew? And the answer is 0. So I'm looking for my first rider to work my magic with going into next year or even into the coming years with Dakar. What I'm the best at is getting people, humans, to reach their physical potential. Okay, as strong as we can get them, as fit as we can get them. And then those humans go and ride the bikes and do what they do best, which is being able to ride the bike and navigate the sand dunes and do all that sort of stuff, which is a different skill set to what I have. But if you want to be the best rider you can be by making your body, your human body, as physically capable as what it can be, then I'm the man for the job. So if you would like to work with me and you would like me to work my magic with you going into the next big race, please send me a private message. Let me know what you're working towards with your riding and racing. We'll hook up a call. We'll go through your training, have a look at what you've done before. If I can help, great. If I can't help, then at least I should be able to refer you to someone and point you in the right direction. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you've got some value from it. And I look forward to putting more together soon. See you guys.